welcome back to the Off-Grid family. Today I'm going to sort my gun out. It's just an air rifle, a 2.2 air rifle, and I'm going to make it a little bit more camouflaged because we'll be going hunting, and I'd like to not stick out like a sore thumb. Thing is, I don't hunt for the love of it, I hunt for food. I don't kill for the fun, I don't kill for any other reason other than for food. So let's make this gun look beautiful, well, look not beautiful, as in make it so that you can't see it. And I'm not doing this as a tutorial, I am just doing this so you can see what I do. I am in no way qualified to be telling you exactly how to do it. I'm just going to show you the different equipment I've got, the different bits and pieces I've got, and how I'm going to use them. But by all means, don't listen to anything I say, don't do anything I do, you know. Just, it might be that, like, I'm using certain types of tape. You'll be able to see how they adhere and if they stick to the gun or whatever, and maybe use it as just a reference rather than a tutorial. Anyway, let's get on. Okay, so this is my Hatsan At44-10. This is a PCP 10-shot 2.2 rifle. Some people say it's really ugly, but I actually really like this gun. I fell in love with it before I bought it, kind of thing. It has a suppressor on the end, bipod. It's got a laser dot sight and a normal scope. And I really like it. It's powerful, accurate. It's a little bit heavy, but it's a lot of gun, you know. But it doesn't look too camouflage right now. So that's the goal today, is to make this look like a bush. For this project I have 4 different coloured tapes. Now these were 99p each, and it was, I think it was buy 3 get 1 free. So like with all my other projects, I don't spend large quantities of money on it if I can help it. So I got the 3 buy 1 get 1 free kind of jobby. I've got some of this pretend ivy. I've made a castle bed for my daughter, and it's got ivy all down the side, and this was just some that was left over. I've also got a ghillie suit, and this was a free offer with the ghillie suit, which is actually a gun cover. So I'll strap that round and stuff. It's actually supposed to be a gun strap, but if I was to tie my gun onto that, it would rip it in half. So I'll just use that to wrap around it and stuff. And I've got various rifle slings, but I don't know if I'm going to use them, because where my bipod is, that's where one of the connectors are for a sling. And you're supposed to be able to connect it to the bipod, but mine was a very cheap bipod, and I'd be a bit worried I'd rip the whole thing off and drop the gun or something. Right, so first I'm going to tape up along the suppressor, along the barrel, and then I think I'm going to do along, this is the chamber where the gas is held, and it's got a little onboard pressure gauge, and I'm thinking about zigzagging them, so I do one coming down here, then round here, and so on, and then in between that I'd have another one just to break up the shapes, because I haven't got any of the same camouflage, and I don't want them to just be blocks of different camouflage. Do you know what, I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to start and see where I go. Okay, so I'm going to start at the suppressor end, and I can't decide whether I'm going to just do the suppressor on its own, so that if I do want to take it off I can. I'm not sure. I might do it so that the suppressor is just one solid colour, and then I'll go down from there. That's what I think I'm going to do, because it means I can remove the suppressor if needs be. Not that I'd want to, but you never know. So now it's just a case of picking a colour or a type and going with that, I think. Now, do I want it that? Do I want it straight? I think I'm being too finickety, which is a good word. Okay, let's have a quick zoom in. Not that the light's very good tonight, but It's alright now. Now I just need to cut this off. Okay, so I've definitely decided I'm going to be doing separate sections for the suppressor because I will take it off every now and again. I often carry my my gun with the suppressor on it in its case. However, it would fit a lot nicer if I did start taking it off. I've just been quite lazy. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to come down here with the same colour. This will be a bit fiddly because I need to cut the actual tape before I do this, unless I can swing it through. I don't know. I'm gonna figure out something. Maybe come down that way. I'm quite impressed with this stuff. It was really cheap, but it does seem to be doing what it's supposed to, which doesn't always happen. It's funny how I'm doing this to camouflage my gun, but I still want it to have a certain aesthetic appeal, which is completely oxymoronic considering. Alright, that's looking a bit better. Now, I think I'm going to do a whole different colour along here. Okay, now I've got to have a 2-minute think. Okay, with another colour now, I'm going to come from here and work it all the way around the whole lot, and then hopefully come in here and work it just round here up to where the filling port is. This is all subject to change. I honestly don't know. As I say, at the moment this is one thing I'm just winging it. If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, we'll start again. Now, how do we go about this? I think I'll come this side first off. And then this side. I always try and be completely transparent when doing my videos. If I make a mistake, I try to admit it, and so on. Now, I haven't made a mistake, but I just didn't like how this one looked up against that one in that respect. So I've taken it off, and I'm going to go back to the original one I was using, and I'll use that as much as I can along there, exactly the same way I was doing it. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take all this off as well, and I'm going to try and use it to go all the way along here, and then maybe use this just for the last little bits. So I'm going to take all this off now. It's funny because you know that it's only supposed to be getting camouflage. You're not supposed to, like, you know, but you're still supposed to have pride in your work. So I'm going to take it all off, and we're going to try it all again. Not all of it, I mean I'll leave the suppressor, the tiniest bit that I've done so far. Right, and we'll put that on somewhere else in a second. Put that there for a sec. Okay, so we'll start this side, this end I mean. We obviously need to do the bipod legs, but how we're going to go about doing that I don't know. Maybe just these bits, because it's spring loaded to go longer too, but obviously I can't do the spring loaded legs. Oh, that would just be silly. Alright, so let's put that down. How much more of this could we use? We can cover all that. One thing I will warn you is, when you're covering your gun, just make sure you're checking on both sides, because you don't want to cover up the locking mechanism or where you put the pellets, you know, any of that silly things. Not that I would ever, of course. I haven't yet anyway. Give it time. I think I'll start from the handle end now. I'm going to cover the entirety of the handle, but I need to work out what I'm going to do with my laser button. I'm thinking something like this. something like this, and have this down like this, so I can, yeah. And it needs to be somewhere where I'm not going to accidentally press it unless I want to press it. Oh, this is a bit of a difficult one. I'll come back in a sec once I've worked it out. Okay, so I've opted for the laser switch to be here. It's lucky I'm strapping it because it'll fall off there very, very easily. You'll notice that I've taken off my trigger guard, but it was so that I could feel around for the exact perfect place for it to be. So it meant I could still pick up the gun and walk around with it without turning the laser on every 2 seconds. So what I'm going to do now is start wrapping the handle. Well, no, actually, I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to do this. I might wrap this stuff, this leftover stuff, up through here. Let me see. Thing is, you don't want to start touching any of the workings of the gun. You know, if you start putting stuff in the way and just be like, oh well, it'll be fine, I'm sure, then you're going to start finding bits of it don't work how they're supposed to. How the hell am I going to wrap this properly? Right. Can you see it's already starting to come off again? Should I just wrap that quickly like that while I'm waiting? No. We'll do this properly. So I think the next colour I'm going to use is the lighter camouflage. And I'm going to come from the back to the front, I think. I know it's going to sound stupid, but it's quite hard to find the end on this. You'd think it's hard on sellotape, but this stuff's blinking camouflaged. Right. Now, before doing anything like this, make sure if you've got an adjustable stock, you've got it to exactly how you want it. Now I've got to decide how I'm going to go about doing this bit. I think I'm going to come up and around, and then come back round on myself. Yeah, this bit down through here. If you are using a laser switch, you know, one of these little tactile switches. Be very careful not to tighten this too much because you don't want your laser always on. Takes away the point of having the switch in the first place, doesn't it? Some people say not to cut this at all because you can always reuse it, etc, etc, but you know, I'm not a massive gun nut. I don't have millions of guns. I actually have this rifle, and then I have another 2.2 rifle, but that's my wife's, and that is just literally just only ever been used a few times for target practice, and that was a very, very cheap one that we got just so that she had one, so if she wanted to come target shooting with me she could. But that's been used, well, by us, that's only been used a few times, but it's a very, very old, very knocked about practice weapon, you know. If this starts ending up looking like a Christmas Christmas present, I'm not going to be happy. Right. Just making sure we're okay. It's the only thing. So I'm scanning over here. If you have a look on the handle of that box, I press the button, and now I was afraid that might happen. Is whether I can. The thing is, you can't wrap this stuff. If you wrap this stuff too lightly, it just won't go on. It will, but it will just start moving around once you're using it, and you don't want that. Right. Okay, luckily enough it was this one, which I had to put on quite tight because of the shape and position it was. So, let's see if we can do it a little bit looser, or not around that area maybe. Much better. Still a bit too tight. That's better. There we go. Okay. So, we've got a bit of a mix match gun at the moment, but that's not a major issue. The idea is it's supposed to be hidden and so on. Right. Now I've got to figure out how to do everything else. I've done sort of the easy bits first. This whole bit here is going to be a nightmare to do, I think. I'm wondering whether if I should do like strips down and around or something. Let's just see if that'll even work. Yes is the answer. Well, the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to do the bipod. I was going to start removing springs, but that could be a really bad idea. Leg. Well, that didn't go too well. I cut it off a little bit short, and now it's trying to run away. That'll do. Now I'm not even going to move the gun because, you know, I'm that clever. I'm going to just get it in and do it this way, because it didn't seem difficult enough, you know. Seem to be making this look really difficult, but it's actually very easy. I think what I'll do with another one of the strips is just go throughout this whole thing and just add bits here, there and everywhere, just to break up the pattern that I've obviously started making. Nice little plastic pipe. I wonder what project that'll turn up in. Okay. No sticking together yet. Like that. Okay, so it's not looking fantastic, but it's looking a little bit more. It's looking a little more camouflage than it did before. Now this area here. Go with this one next. Right, first of all, let's stick this down. Not that this stuff works very well, but I have got loads more, and so if I really was worried I could have done that, fixed it, but I'm not that worried. Well, that was clever of me, wasn't it? Whenever using Velcro, always stick the two pieces together first before you do your sticking of whatever you're using, because then they'll always line up. Well, depends what you're sticking, but they should always line up then, and you should always get it dead on. Just put that like that for now, it's purely to keep it out of the way. Purely just to keep it out of the way for now. While I put this on. I really am making a big deal of this. This stuff is so easy to use, and I just seem to be, I don't know, I just don't seem to be getting it right now. The gun is an odd shape, to be fair. I blame it on the gun. No, I'm going to have to undo this one quickly. Sort of forgetting that this gun needs to still be able to function after I've made it into a Christmas present. Now what I'm about to do now is probably quite dangerous, so I wouldn't advise copying. As you can see, the trigger's hidden out of the way, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to strap underneath it, but I'm not going to touch the trigger in any way with the tape. The tape won't be anywhere near the trigger or the trigger mechanism or anything. You do not want that. You don't want it to suddenly fire and you're not even in the same blinking room as it, you know? That's often not a good thing when it comes to guns. See, I told you I was an expert. Oh my goodness. It's lucky I don't easily get stressed. Okay, that's better. Still not happy with this bit, but I don't know what I can do about that. If I come across here, 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 and then down, try that. Right. Nope, that's in the way. Rethink. Not quite right still. So far everything's still working, which is always a bonus. Okay, obviously haven't done any of the scopes yet, but let's have a look. It's not bad, is it? It's not great, but it's getting there. Let's go on to the scopes now, actually. Now remember, there are also moving parts on your scope, so be wary. Don't just start covering it up. Don't, you know, make sure you haven't got any things like my two doers are here, and I need to make sure that I can zero in this scope because it's not been zeroed in since I last took it out, and I've banged it about, well, not banged it about, but it's been transported about and so on, so I need to make sure it's all still zeroed. Now, as I said before, it is all different blocks of camouflage, and you know, all that, like this is a sand one, for God's sake. But all of the places I go are different, as in, I do a lot in woodlands, but I do a lot in, there's some reed land by me, which is very much the sort of sandy colours. But what I'm going to do is I'm then going to add some other stuff to it, like we said, and this should then not blend them all together, but make it so that they're not so just chunks of stuff. We'll see how we get on, see how it looks at the beginning. If it looks really good at the end, I'll say I meant it, and if it doesn't, then I'll say that I was told to do it that way or something. I'll blame someone else. Put any other bits lying around? Nope. Right. I'll leave that bit for in a minute. I'm coming from this side now, so I need to do just this block here, and then a few other bits in between. So let's have a look. Okay. If you're doing a very small bit like this, obviously this stuff does not stick to the metal, but it's a little bit rubbery, so it's got a nice sort of grip on it. But if you do it tight enough, it will keep itself there. Just checking that I haven't stuck anything. Okay, well I had to stop for a minute because the battery went completely dead on the camera. That's the second time it's happened. So I think I'm going to have to buy another battery, which is not cheap. Okay, so I'm not too dissatisfied with it. I've put the single point strap on it, and I had it on my shoulder, and it was actually, it felt quite nice actually. It did disperse the weight quite well. As I say, it's quite a heavy gun, so it was quite nice to have a little bit of the weight being taken from my shoulder. I didn't feel like Rambo, which was quite sad. Right, and I had a look at this and these. I think these I'm not going to put on, although they're quite good and so on. I think that they are just a little bit too bright, and if I'm stood in the woods somewhere, I think they're going to show up more than if I was wearing a halo. So I'm going to see about strapping this on now. As it was free, as I said, it's not great quality, but you know, it's got all the furry bits we need. I'm going to primarily aim to have this around the scope and so on, because there's so much black that I couldn't cover up on the gun and the scope, that I'd like to make that bit a little bit more camouflage. Let's put that like that. This I might have to do 10 times. I honestly don't know how it's going to go, if it's even going to work. Part of me is tempted to cut all of the black bits off, all of the bits that connect it, and stick it on individually, but I think that's going to be then taking the mick and take way too long. Obviously it's a laser sight, so we do want to try and avoid blocking it, because it won't take much to block the laser. Now, can I still reach everything yet? I know at the moment I'm blocking off the laser, but that's tough at the moment. Right, 1 second. Something else that I've got. If I was to be out hunting and, you know, in prone position, just sitting there waiting, I think I would have something like that on it. Wow, man, who put a bush on my desk? That's not too bad. I think I'll keep these in with my gun bag now, and I'll take them around with me. yeah, I think I'm done here. Let's just make sure we can, no, so we are still blocking the laser, but part of me doesn't care. I think if I needed to use the laser, I'd give it a haircut. No, I'd just move around a few bits until I could get the laser past. Thing is, it's not focused in yet. It should be much more to its left anyway, so it won't actually be hitting all that. It should be firing a bit more this way. So I'm not bothered about that yet. That's something I can sort out another day. But what do you think? Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you think. If you like it, if there was anything you'd have done differently, or if I've done something horrendously wrong and you want to tell me about it. I'm happy to have criticism, as long as it's semi-constructive, I don't mind. But yeah, what do you think? I'm going to do a bit of a close-up. Do you know what? I'm not too unhappy with that. Thanks for watching. Bye.